Well, good morning, everyone. That was my boy Sterling from this past winter. Just a little work in progress, as you can plainly see. Welcome to the webinar. As you can see, I'm sharing my screen, and when I'm sharing my screen, I cannot see what's going on in the chat or who's here in the room. So I'm just going to go out of the screen share for just a second and see if I can. Well, that wasn't what I wanted to do. There you go. I can stop sharing my screen for a second just to see who's here and say hi. So hi, everyone. Welcome to Saturday morning. I'm so happy that you're here. All the while that we're going to be in this webinar, feel free to type anything that you need into the chat. I will come back into the chat later and I will answer all your questions. So as we go, you might have questions that you don't want to forget, and I will stay right here until the end and I will answer them live. So I want to get right into the webinar and start sharing my screen right away so we can get to work and learn some stuff about horses. So I'm going to just go back here and say, welcome to the Magnetize Your Horse-Human Relationship webinar with Brewer, and that's me. This is me and my horse Summer on the beach. She's a water baby. I'm going to just share a couple of fun and interesting facts with you because likely you fit in one of these categories. There's almost 4 million horses in the United States of America, and 84% of those horse owners are women, 38 years and older, just like us. And 85% of those horse owners are recreational riders. So if you're in it for the fun that you and your horse can have together and the relationship that you and your horse can have together, you're in the right place. I want to share with you today the top 3 challenges that I have found with talking with horsewomen all over the world, not just the United States, that most women face. The first one is fear, and that's fear of being hurt, fear of hurting our horses, and fear of messing up our horses or not being good enough for our horses. Fitness, as we begin to age, fitness, our bodies change. And, I can't tell you how many women have told me, I'm not as fit as I was when I was in my 20s, and I find things more challenging. So we're going to address that. And then the last one is the endless conflicting information that's available today for horse owners. There's so many forums, even just on Facebook, where most of you came from. So even just on Facebook, there's so much conflicting information. There's so many membership programs and, advice columns, not to mention our fellow boarders and neighbors. There's so much conflicting information. So today I'm going to help you think about have a way to think about the conflicting information. So I am Marianne Brewer, and I am filled with gratitude that you're here. So welcome. I'm going to just share a little tiny bit about me here in the beginning, and then I'll share more so you get to know who I am as we go through the webinar. My first horse I owned as an adult. My mom She said to me every year when I begged at Christmas for a pony, yes, Marianne, she said, you can have a pony when you grow up and buy a horse, or when you grow up and buy a farm. So I did that in 1990. And so I've been a horse owner since 1990. And pretty soon after I was a horse owner, I realized I was in way over my head and I needed help. And I searched the world over, and I found the world of natural horsemanship in 1996. In 2006, I say 1996 to 2005 because I'll share a little bit more about the end of that particular journey in a little bit. But in 2006, I started my company called In the Company of Horses. And since 2006, we've been facilitating equine-assisted psychotherapy and learning sessions with mostly adults, but kids too. And we've had more than 15,000 people come through our arena of equine-assisted psychotherapy and learning with my loose horses. I'm the equine specialist of the team, and I partner with other professionals. I've been teaching and helping people problem solve for all these years. And currently I'm an international horsemanship coach, and I coach people online just like we're doing today. So it's very exciting. We're going to get first right into mindset because, believe it or not, that's where our horsemanship starts. And it usually is where the problems occur. Not always, but it usually is where the problems perpetuate or occur. So we're going to get right into strategies around mindset. So the thing about fear is sometimes it's us that's afraid, and sometimes it's our horse that's afraid. I'm just going to try to see if I can move my little face out of the way. Sometimes our horses are afraid of us. Sometimes our horses are afraid of other people. Sometimes our horses are afraid of different places or different things. And sometimes that we're afraid of our horse in certain situations. We're afraid of our horse being hurt in certain situations, or our horse is hurting us in certain situations. Or just that whole thing of, I'm afraid I'm going to mess my horse up. You know, we're in it usually because we love our horses and we want to not mess them up. So we want to talk about, where does this fear come from? Where does it live, and what can we do about it? So we're going to talk mindset strategies. And here's how I know about these strategies and how they work and that they work. For more than 10 years, back in the early 2000s, I was in a program where I studied what is common to all human beings. Similar to like what is common to all airplanes, whether it's a glider or a fighter jet or a jumbo jet, they all have certain things in common that allow them to be airplanes and allow them to fly. So we are like that. We have certain things that are in common because we're humans. And one of the things that I learned is that most of us have what I'm going to call an already and always conversation that's running in the background, and we don't even know that that's happening. These already and always conversations, they sound something like, I'm not, and then you can fill in the blank. It's some version of I'm not good enough. So here's some examples. And these are in our horse world, but you'll find that these examples kind of perpetuate all throughout life. So some examples are, I'm not fit enough, or I'm not athletic enough, or I'm not young enough, or I'm too young. That's another one that's funny. It's because we're never the right age. I'm not coordinated enough. I'm not smart enough. I can't remember. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have space. I don't have an arena. I don't have the right. And then you can fill in the blank, whatever that is. But for some reason, I'm just not good enough. And what I have is just not good enough. And the thing is whichever conversations are running in the background of your particular situation, they're typically hidden from our view. And whether we know it or not, these conversations are affecting our outcomes. So if you had an automatic thought that when I said, you know, I'm not good enough conversation, and that's just what I'm going to call it, because that's all it is. It's just a conversation. We'll go around in the world looking for proof and we'll find it. But it's this conversation that lives in the back of our mind, and it runs what we do. If you had an automatic thought, what is your not good enough conversation? That's probably it. And like I said, you'll find evidence. So when you take a look at yourself your already and always self in the mirror. So your conversations that you have about you as a horse person, what do you see? Are you like this kitten who looks in the mirror and sees this lion? Or are you really the lion who looks in the mirror and sees the kitten? Most of us don't see ourselves as right-sized. We usually have some version that doesn't really support what we want. And these already and always conversations, the thing is, they're just conversations. When we know that they're only conversations, they're like superstitions. A superstition's only a superstition when it's not a superstition. Like, if I really believe if I break a mirror, I'm gonna have 7 years bad luck, then that's the truth. It's not a superstition. If I think, oh, that's just a superstition, then the jig is up. Then it no longer has any hold on me. Can you see there's these unseen forces that are working in the background? And that's how our minds work. That's when our minds are working properly, that's what happens. That's what it looks like. It's my little pony, Maya, little pony. And then there are our already and always beliefs about our horses. You know, we have these beliefs about us, and then we meet these horses and they say, oh, well, my horse is not, or my horse is, either way, and we just fill in the blanks, and we start labeling them and putting all this stuff on our horses. It's either my horse is very athletic, it's a very athletic horse, very brave, very fit, very dominant, very scared. My horse is herd bound, or buddy sour, or barn sour. My horse doesn't, right? Load in the trailer. It doesn't like this kind of trailer. It doesn't like that kind of trailer. It doesn't like the rain, doesn't like the wind, doesn't get along with other horses. I can't turn him out with other horses. Doesn't like wind, doesn't like bushes, doesn't like plastic bags, doesn't like fly spray. How about that one? Doesn't like that end of the arena. And then there's all the things that I know my horse needs. This is just the way my horse is. My horse needs a bit. My horse needs shoes. My horse needs a tie down, martingale, a bigger, better, newer, different type of trailer, and all the other things that our horses either do or do not. And even our horses begin to believe this. They start to say, oh my goodness, we don't go out in the rain, or I need my, whatever it is, I need my blanket, or I don't do water, I don't do mud puddles. You know, our horses begin to learn all this stuff too. So those are just some of the problems that we have. And so I don't want to dwell in the things that aren't working. I want to find solutions to these problems to help you create a mindset that's actually going to shift what you do. And this is my student, Lauren, and there she is, you know, riding her racehorse. She's an ex-racehorse, and she's riding her in a rope halter, and she never thought that was going to happen. She was sure she needed all kinds of gadgets to keep herself safe. And this is a quote by Henry Ford, and there's such truth in this quote. It says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's you seeding your subconscious mind and telling your subconscious mind what it wants, what to think, essentially what to think. So let's go into the horse side of things for a little bit. And if we're going to magnetize our horses to us, kind of like that horse was, you know, my horse Sterling in the beginning, and he's better than that now. That was back in the winter. You saw me wearing my big heavy winter coat. We're 8-10 months later, and you know, things are definitely different than they were back then. But the thing about horses is they want to be together naturally. At the DNA level, they're herd animals. And so if you have a herd bound horse or a buddy sour horse, rejoice, because the goal is that's who you want to become. And you know your horse has the capacity to pair bond strongly, and that your horse can pair bond strongly with you. And that's what we want. We want our horses pair bonding like that with us. To do that, we need to get to know our horses in a different way. We need to get to know what they actually like, not just what they don't like, but what are the things they actually like? What are the things our horses need? Things like, you know, safety. And can we provide that? When we take our horses away from their buddies, are we causing them to feel safe, or are we causing them to not feel safe? What are the things our horses actually need? And then we need to learn what's important to our particular horses. Not every horse is created equal. Horses are gregarious, or they have a need to be together in varying degrees. So we need to learn about what's important to our particular horse. And this is just what horses do. They quickly assemble in their exact order, just like these magnets. This is a natural law. Like flocks of birds, schools of fish, and herds of horses, it's a law of nature, and it's how the law of attraction actually works. Unseen forces are running in the background, like our already and always conversations. If we set up the right circumstances, our horses will hurry to assemble in the perfect order, in the perfect time with us. So we need to become who our horses want to be with. We need to learn to speak their language, and we need to help them understand our language. For that, we need to be clear and consistent. We want this kind of attention from our horses, saying, yes, what are we doing today? So to become the magnet, first, we need to be honest about what's actually going on for us. And I say we need to tell the truth because there's nowhere to hide with these horses. So we need to stop trying. And we need to maybe somehow get to the truth. Sometimes we don't always know what the truth is. We spend so much time in our head thinking that we're not in our bodies feeling and not really paying attention to the truth, or vice versa. We spend so much time in our bodies feeling and not enough time thinking about what's actually going on for us. What are we actually doing? The thing is, either way, the horses know what's happening there. It's either congruent or it's not congruent. So if you make a mistake with your horse, just be honest about it. Say, you know what? Oh, I wish I didn't do that. I was so clumsy. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Or whatever it is. Don't go down the rabbit hole that's sure to follow of making you wrong or somebody else wrong. Simply commit to improving whatever is needed. So to be honest, if we come to our horses with a hidden agenda, they're going to know it. This is where having a big, clear, overarching picture of what we want, and we're going to talk more about that later. That's where this is so helpful. What's the relationship that you want to have with your horse? What does it actually look like? Like, what are you actually doing together? Remember those already and always conversations that are running and potentially hidden from our awareness? These thoughts can show up to our horses as incongruent or dishonest, to other people as well. But horses who are programmed to read the motives of predators are keenly aware of what our intentions are. Horses are so sensitive to slight changes that they can detect even a shallowing or a shortening of our breath. Do you have a riding instructor who's always telling you, breathe, breathe, remember to breathe? And you can't even help it, right? When you get nervous, your heart starts beating faster, you start to hold your breath. Horses notice this stuff right away. If their predator is starting to shorten their breath or their heartbeat quickens, horses notice this right away. They have to. It's in their DNA. Horses are reading our focus, our energy, the clock, and the weather, and we're teaching them to do it all the time. So in short, if you're happy, just go ahead and be happy. If you're sad, be sad. If you're PMSing, be PMSing. If you're mad, be mad. If you're in a thoughtful, quiet mood, be thoughtful. Our horses may not be attracted to some of these emotions, but they will be congruent and they'll be easily read by our horses. And that's what's going to help us to get honest about what's really going on for us going forward. More on honesty. We don't want to let things fester. We don't want to put icing on a mud pie and pretend it doesn't exist. If it's yucky and it's your doing, clean it up straight away. If you feel bad about something, this is your insides telling your outsides that something's not right. We can't go back in time and fix things, but we can go forward in time and commit to fixing things in the future. We need to be informed by the past, but not limited because of it. I speak to my horses in plain English. I'm sorry I was so uncoordinated today. I was so distracted by work or this webinar I was going to do tomorrow morning that I wasn't present, and I promise to be completely with you when I'm with you in the future. And then that's what I need to do. I need to show up. I need to put my phone away. I need to maybe set an alarm or something so I know how much time I have left. And then I need to stay with my horse and commit to being with my horse until the thing that we need to get through is gotten through. Otherwise, it'll just perpetuate and perpetuate and perpetuate. And before you know it, it's August and we're still here. And don't go down the rabbit hole of making yourself wrong, not good enough, not athletic enough, having no rhythm, can't pay attention, focus, or stay present. If you find yourself there, clean it up straight away and commit to not giving yourself permission to go down that rabbit hole again. It happens. You know, I'm always a fan of finding out the origin of sayings and the meaning of phrases and even particular words. And when I looked up, where did this come from? I found that down the rabbit hole is a metaphor for the entry into the unknown, the disorienting, or the mentally deranging from its use in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Commitment, and here's a definition to commitment. The state or quality of being dedicated to a cause, activity, etc. An engagement or obligation that restricts freedom of action. So it's the state or quality of being dedicated. So you're dedicated, but it's the quality of your dedication. And it restricts action, like don't go down the rabbit hole. If you've made a commitment to not going down the rabbit hole, when you see yourself going there, get yourself out before you get into that mentally deranging place. Easier said than done. Maybe this idea of fitness, right? Maybe it's something that you've wanted to commit to, you've made a commitment to before, but for some reason you haven't stuck with it. Walking is a really easy way to make yourself fit and well. And you can go slow at first. You know, gradually commit to maybe being able to walk 5 miles every day. Maybe you need a little dog to help you. Walking 3 days per week will help you have more air, more endurance. It'll help you with blood flow. So your brain, it can think clearer. It'll help you with your mood because you'll be in the elements, moving around outside. You'll find yourself making healthier food choices. And I want you to know that in my personal one-on-one coaching program that I'm going to talk with you later about, the average client has lost 15 pounds. It was a little side effect I didn't know was going to happen, but almost everyone has lost at least 15 pounds. I have people who couldn't afford to lose 15 pounds, but there were many people who lost more than 20 pounds. And that's just because of this. It's because you've made a commitment of your time and your effort and your money to your horse and getting the most out of it. It's a side effect. Elicit the help of a friend. Friends can be very motivating when something comes up or we just don't want to. The weather, always something. You could walk with your horse. It's something I love to do. I love to go out walking with my horses. So you could have a dog that needs to go out. Look at her. She's like, we need to go for a walk. You could go out exploring with your horse and see what he likes to eat. Or you can walk in your arena with your horse. Maybe you're going to start playing with your horse at Liberty, and maybe you'll just walk in your arena with your horse. When you start playing with your horse at Liberty, many people get into motion in a way that they weren't before. And you'll notice in that picture, I don't have any sticks. I don't have any equipment. It's just me and the horse. And we're busy going to get talking about something that we want to do. Right here with this horse, I was happy she was standing still. Maybe we need to work on our mental focus, or maybe we need to work on our physical coordination. A weekly yoga class or a martial art class are really, really good to help you with things like feel and timing and balance. Your horse will thank you for it. Maybe you need to change your diet to include more water and less caffeine. Maybe you need to even go further and add a little chamomile tea to your diet. I have people tell me all the time, oh, I just can't settle down. We take our horses out to graze and we think they've been grazing 10 minutes. I said, you know, wear a watch. You'll realize it's only been 2 minutes. And we think, oh, that's long enough. 7 minutes is what I find has been the magic number. If a horse, you're going to stop and let a horse graze, you need to do it for 7 minutes. And then they finally realize, okay, maybe I'm going to be grazing today. And then practice your horsemanship away from your horse by noticing what you're doing in your daily interactions and relating those patterns to your horse interactions. You'll find that wherever you go, there you are. And I'm become famous in my coaching world for saying everything really is everything else. Summer is the perfect time to do outdoor exercise. This is a yoga class we had at Packham Pond, but so is winter. Don't hibernate. In the summer, it's too hot. In the winter, it's too cold. In the spring, it's too wet. The only time it's perfect is in the fall. Your horse lives outside or lives in the weather and embraces the weather every single day, unless you teach him not to. My horses live outside 24/7. They embrace every single day. I have no excuse for not going out there and being with them. So practice your horsemanship away from your horse. We were at the grounds for sculpture and they had this drumming circle and they had all these drums. And I was like, okay, girls, let's go practice our horsemanship. Can we get in a rhythm with this drum? Can we get in a rhythm with the people next to us? Can we get in a rhythm with the people all around us? That's practicing your horsemanship when you're away from your horse. And avoid making the same mistakes over and over. Learn to become someone who can see what there is to see. Not what we think we see, not what we feel, but learn to become a keen observer. To help you with that, you can head over to my website, mariannebrewer.com, and right there on the front page, you can download my free ebook. It's called For the Love of Horses. It's a 16-page lesson on becoming a keen observer and busting the myth of the horse whisperer. Horse whisperers really should be called horse listeners or horse observers. You see this gal, she's observing horses because she's taking photos, like she has a camera there. You want to look with that kind of eye. Where's the photo you want? Have you become an avoidaholic? It happens. So I want to give you some encouragement to live the life that with your horse that is your dream horse life, like the dream that you got a horse for. Like when I got my horse, I thought I was going to ride on the beach. It was going to be a Black Beauty kind of thing, bareback and bridleless, and we were going to have that great relationship, and it was going to be like that with my dog. My horse was going to want to follow me all over. And boy, that dream was shattered pretty darn quickly when I got this girl. When I got this girl, she was my baby horse, Patches. And I got her, maybe a year after I moved to my farm. I bought myself a 10-year-old gelding because that's what everybody said I should do. But then what happened was I was like, why does he do this? And why does he do that? I don't know. And then I bought myself a baby horse. Brilliant idea. So I was very young when I got married and started having children. I was just 18 years old. It was in my early 40s that I actually sold my business. I rented out my entire farm in as many pieces as I could so I could have as much income as possible because I set out on an amazing journey across the country. I said, you know what? I'm going away to horsemanship school. And that's what I did. So my girl, Miss Patches, and I, we made this dream come true. I put her in my little 2-horse trailer that was definitely not good enough. And we headed out from New Jersey and we went down to Florida, and then we traveled across the bottom of the country, and we went all through the southern states in the winter, and then we headed into the San Juan Mountains in Colorado for the summer, and then we came across the top of the country to come back home, and then ended up in Florida and made it home just in time for Christmas. But you know how I did that? I did that because I was in a personal development program, and I got some coaching on living the life I wanted, not living the life that I fell into or the one that came in my space, but what did I really want to do with my life? And then I made that happen. It was an amazing adventure, as you can well imagine. I love mountains. And we spent a beautiful amount of time here in these mountains. You see the snow in the background? We learned so much. And then in the middle of the year, what was really cool was I managed to get myself into a higher level of schooling. And I got into the university. And when I got there, I was able to have my second horse, Jessie, who was the horse you saw walking on the beach, she was able to come out, and I was able to do a colt start with her. That was quite exciting. And we got back home in 2005 that year, just in time for Christmas, back to New Jersey. These are some pictures of when this picture on the left is me when I was actually in horsemanship school. You see how it kind of has a pre-dawn glow about the whole picture? Because it seemed like we were always up pre-dawn doing all kinds of things. I was on the feed team in the rotation there. We were busy feeding, all of the horses that were either in the university or were our horses that were our project horses. So there was probably, I think we were feeding 48 horses at that time. So when I was in the university, you were either on the feed team or the cleanup team, or the first team was the jingle team. And that was the team that got up the earliest and went out to the 200-acre on horseback. It was dark. And it's really dark in Colorado. It's not like here in New Jersey where there's always some sort of, external light, from either the cities we live near or, man-made light. But it's very dark out there in the mountains in Colorado. And we'd have to go out there and find all the horses in the 200-acre and bring them in so the feed team could then feed. And then when that was all done, we would bring the horses back out or keep the horses in that we were going to work with. All the rest of them got taken back out. And then the cleanup team would come and clean up after all of that. It was fun, but what was interesting is horses are pattern animals. So they get used to, okay, somebody's going to come and get us and we're going to go eat. And, they all show up kind of at the gate. Except the university module before us had just started. They had like 12 colts that they started. And like literally the day before I got there on the jingle team, they had turned the colts out in the 200-acre. So they were not part of the big, the big herd that lived there. They had their own separate herd. So while there were horses that were waiting for us, there was this little herd of like these 12 colts that we had to go find. And there's real danger there. I mean, there really are like bear and there are mountain lions and there are, we saw elk all the time, where we were. So being out in the pre-dawn, it was, not like my life in New Jersey is, like I love to trail ride, but we don't have any predators here that can hurt us. Maybe we have pineland rattlesnakes, but I've never seen one. And then there's my girl, Jessie, the gray horse on the top. And this was when we got home she had just been started under saddle just a couple of months prior. And one of the really, really good things to do with your young horse that started under saddle is give them a job. I learned that when I was in horsemanship school. As soon as I started her under saddle, she was then my jingle horse who went out with me in the middle of the early morning. Or we were lucky enough to be able to, we had a teacher who every morning said to us being university students, if you have any young horses and you want to bring them along, I'll meet you out here at 7 o'clock and we're going to move cows from over there to down here. And then we're going to move them from down there to over there. And it's a great way to help your young horses, give them purpose. So purpose is really important. So here we were on the beach and I was helping this other horse move along. And this is my, this sorrel horse. He was my sorrel gelding. He was my very first horse that I owned. And then down at the bottom, when I did get home at Christmas, like it was right in January of that next year in early 2006, that I created my company and the company of horses. And this little donkey, this little being, her name is Jackie, she came to live with me and help me work. And we began an interesting journey of equine assisted learning and psychotherapy. So this is my girl, Angie, that's what I called her because one day she went from appearing to me as derogatory names to an angel. And yeah, and this was, she's actually passed now. But this was her when she was a baby down here on the bottom right. And this was her when we were in horsemanship school. And this was her just a couple of years ago on the left there. She made all the difference. She wanted me to tell people, don't forget, it was you and I that started all this. We had an animal communicator workshop, and she, that's what she said to me. Don't forget, it was you and I that started all this. And she's right, because if she wasn't a difficult horse, I don't know that I would have gone down this road of really trying to continue to be educated and be excellent with horses and to help horses. Yeah. So then we got a new chapter in our lives of dance and art. I began to work with lots of people after school and helping people be safe and have fun and be confident and feel peaceful in their horse-human relationships. And I discovered a new love. I had this life-changing experience at Cavalia, and a woman who I actually later got to meet and work with, and she actually came out on stage at Cavalia. Cavalia is something that I like to say is like Cirque du Soleil, only with horses. She came out on stage with these long flowy clothes and these 9 Arabian stallions completely at liberty, no strings attached. It was so lovely. They were so connected that it really expanded my view of what is possible. And I knew there was power in the herd. I knew that this is when I really started to learn about the idea of pair bonding and how much easier it was to work in the company of other horses than it was just to take my horse away. And doing that is how I learned I could take my horse away. So this was Sylvia Zerbini, and her farm is now Grand Liberté Farm, although she just now is back with Cavalia, and she's on a whole new Cavalia tour. But see her in her long flowing clothes and her horses that are just magnetized to her. So I wanted to know, how do I do this? And you know, I really started to notice after that many people didn't even know how to have a relationship with their horse on the ground or at liberty. If a horse wasn't ridden, or for some reason it couldn't be ridden, it was simply put out to pasture. They looked for a retirement home, and horses that were, you know, young, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. This was happening more and more, and I knew that I could help. I knew this didn't have to happen. Horses don't need to be washed up at 8 years old or 10 years old. So let's go to work right now, training our minds to give us what we want, so we can actually see it and then own it. So we want to create and we want to seed our minds with thoughts that support what we want and create inner pictures. We want to take the time to picture exactly what we want, and we want to notice all the little details. So Napoleon Hill, in his book called Think and Grow Rich, teaches us that imagining in detail trains our brains to pursue these pictures. I can give you an example. Have you ever pictured yourself falling off your horse and then fallen off your horse? I knew that was going to happen. I've done that. So I started to realize that if I'm doing that, maybe I can picture myself staying on my horse. And I started really to hone in and really clarify those thoughts in my mind of exactly what I wanted to see. I started to think to my horses, I'm going to come out and I'd like to see Valentine waiting at the gate for me. And so when I get outside and Valentine's waiting at the gate for me, I have proof, it's working. And if she's not, I want to keep thinking it. I want to keep clarifying. I want to keep putting in the information I want. Do you see this girl in this picture? She's going over her routine exactly. She's thinking about the shape of her fingers, how much strength is in them, how straight is her leg. Look at her toe pointed. She's imagining how this is all going to happen before it does. And even if it doesn't, she's seeding her subconscious mind with what she wants, with the pictures she wants. When we add feelings to what we visualize, it's like supercharging. Emotion gives superpower to pictures. Imagine it, right? Like, so your horse just stepped on your foot, right? You didn't expect that to happen. You didn't want it. But you know what happens when all that emotion comes up, right? Your horse is like, oh boy, what did I do? I'm in big trouble now. And they're gone. Where if your horse didn't step on your foot and nothing caused you to go to that place, you didn't have an influx of big emotion, your horse would just be with you. So when you visualize these things, now I don't want to ride a horse that looks like that, right? I like 4 feet on the ground, or at least going in the same direction. I don't necessarily want my horse up in the air doing the high-o silver thing. But you want this visualization to be as real as possible. You want to add all the emotion that supports your clear picture. You see this girl, she's clearly happy when she sees herself riding her horse like this. She's seeing it in her mind's eye, and she's feeling it in her body. And she's even writing about it. If writing is something you like to do, or drawing is something you like to do, it's a way to support your pictures and your feelings when you're not with your horse. This is more my style. This is more the kind of horse I would like to ride. This is the space I'd like to ride in. I can just feel myself sitting on this horse, wrapping my hand in those, my hands around those seat belts, that mane. And this is what I encourage you to do, is keep your picture clear in your mind. Your desired behavior is coming. The only reason it will not is if you lose your picture. Keep clarifying for your horse. This could take a week, it could take a month, it could take a year. But in the long run, I have my horses forever. I never get a horse that says, well, I'm just going to have my horse for now. My horses live with me forever. So keeping my picture alive forever is a thing I can do. To do this, a beginner's mind is useful. It's useful for learning new things, even if, or especially if, you're not new to horses. Taking on the thinking of a beginner's mind can help you to overcome images in your mind that don't support the desired pictures. Think about where your images come from, those images in your mind. What have you imagined in your mind? Sometimes people don't even need to have an experience. Sometimes they can see it happen to someone else and say, oh, and then they play those images over in their mind, and that's what we see. That's what becomes seeded in our subconscious mind. We want to put in there what we want. And if we're not new to horses, we can have a broader array, a broader garden in our subconscious mind of what is actually possible. And it's not hard to shine the light on those things. It seems that the longer people in horses are together, the more gadgets people get and the more protective gear people look to want to wear. Kids. There's 2 kinds of imagination, okay? There's thoughtful imagination that comes from what we already know, right? So those pictures that we already see. And then there's creative imagination that usually comes from some sort of an inspiration or a feeling. I have a friend who would say to me, oh, I had an inspiration in the shower this morning, right? So wherever that comes from, that's an inspired kind of imagination. Kids are so good at this kind of imagination. They're not living in what could potentially happen. I mean, some kids are, but for the most part, they're not. They're living in what's possible. What do they want? Kids. So think of imagination as a faculty, and that it can be strengthened and expanded, just like our muscles. There's something that can be strengthened and expanded. It can be cultivated and harvested when it produces new fruit. Allow your creative imagination to run wild and free, and then add your thinking imagination to guide your pictures. Practice this until you can create the pictures that you want on demand. This slide, I purposely made this slide with no pictures because this right here is such an important piece of information. I'm just going to give you a second to really read it again. I'm going to grab a little drink for myself. Practice this until you can create the pictures you want on demand. Energy. You want to be the energy that you want to attract. This woman, she was here in a workshop. She's exhausted from trying to keep up. Finally, her horse is standing still. The goal was to keep slack in the line and use all this stuff that I've been talking about, your pictures and your energy, and use your all this stuff to attract these things, your horses, to you. and all the while keeping slack in the line. She was exhausted, but look at her horse is finally standing still. And the same thing in this picture. He was trying to help this off the track thoroughbred settle, but he has so much energy that it took so long. Even in this picture, right? Even though they look like they have low energy, she's standing still, but he's still in motion. So like we can have low energy that we need to bring up to our horses, so then we can bring ourselves down together. Or we can have high energy that we need to bring down to meet our horses, so then we can move together, okay? So we want to be the energy that we want to attract. These three have completely matched energy. Can you see? Even their footfalls are exactly matched. All their left feet are forward. All their right feet are back. They have exactly matched energy. These are not horse people. These were people who were in an equine assisted team building, a corporate team building event that we had for a company. And they have exactly matched energy, synergy. You want to be the energy you want to attract, controlled, forward, and inside of boundaries. Inside of boundaries. You see a loose boundary? Everyone's going forward. So these are the ingredients, right? We want to imagine in detail, add the emotion, add the energy, have those clear pictures in our mind. And we don't want to leave out how strong is our desire to have these things. Because if our strong desire doesn't motivate us, then maybe we're not horse people. Maybe that's not really what we want. Maybe we have a strong desire to do something else. Maybe we have a strong desire, I don't even know what it is. Maybe your desire really is to photograph horses. Maybe your desire is to write about horses. Maybe your desire is to teach. Maybe, I don't know, but desire is a powerful motivator. It has to be more than just a, I like it or I want to. It has to be a declarative statement. And I made that statement when I got myself a stallion. I said, you know, I bought him as a baby. I said, I'm committed to you. I'm going to have you be a well-rounded horse. You know, I had a strong desire to have that happen. So every single day I make that happen. I still have a strong desire to have that happen. What is it that motivates you? Like Patches used to love the serenity of the Pinelands. It's a unique ecosystem here in our area in New Jersey of the world. It's home to many plants and animals that only live here in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. And I say, can you smell the water? Because filling up your senses with smell, touch, sight, sound, those are all very important parts of completing the picture of what you want. The water here smells like cedar. It smells like cedar trees because there's so many cedar trees in the Pinelands that they actually leaves a sediment in the water. You can actually, that's what makes it that color. The color of the water is kind of a, it's actually called Matterhorn. I know that because I did a little color finder to find a color of the picture, but it's lovely actually. People in in the olden times used to come out to the New Jersey Pinelands from Philadelphia and bathe in the healing waters and relax in the healing waters. But smell is an important part of completing your picture. And for me, to feel alive and happy in nature with my horse in a serene place, that's a mighty motivator. I'm such a big fan of going out in all weather and all seasons with my horses. This is my girl, Jessie. She's the horse that you saw in the pictures earlier. And this is again out in the Pinelands here in New Jersey. So what do you desire with your horse? This is my horse, Sterling, who this was probably ride number 6. I do not have an indoor arena. I took him to a workshop. I was like, you know, I just started riding this horse and I realized he's a noodle. He is all over the place. I'm going to need to get some help. And how can I get some help? He is wearing his halter, and that's the primary thing that I'm using. But the clinician said, you know, he's a big boy now. He's 5 years old and he needs to wear a bridle, and who better than you to teach him to do that? And so this was the first day that he wore a bit in his mouth and consequently, it's the last day that he wore a bit in his mouth too. He's 8 years old, and I've been, instead of riding him in Snaffle, I've just been riding him in Cavachon. So the question is what do you desire? Do you see how happy these people are? Like, I am so happy that I have my Andalusian stallion and I'm there at a clinic with my horse to get some more information. I couldn't have been happier. I couldn't have been more proud of him. And that was just his 6th ride. So what do you desire? I had a strong desire and a clear picture. This is my boy again. So when I got him as a baby, I wanted to have a horse that wanted to lay down when I asked next to me. I didn't want to use ropes. I didn't want to force it. I just wanted to ask and have him come and lay down with me. And so what was happening was every day I was coming out to feed him and he was laying down and he was rolling here in this dirt. It was hot and it was the summer. So I started to reinforce that idea. So I would walk over, he would come out and lay down and I'd hurry to try to get in there and I would give him his food. And he'd be like, what? I'm eating here? What's happening, right? I did that every single day for 7 days in a row. And before I knew it, I could say, hey, could you come down here and lay down? And he would be like, yep, I'm down, I'm good. He wanted to do it anyway. I was just reinforcing what he wanted. So then when he started to do that anywhere I asked, and it was all good. So I thought, well, what else can I do with this? And I thought, I wonder if I could ask him to just lay down and then just back up a little and sit. And so then he started to do that. I would come out to feed him and he'd just be sitting there waiting, looking around, waiting for me to feed him. It was just the funniest thing. It was really, he's just a funny being. But like, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know that was possible. But I had this picture and then he offered something. And I said, yes, I want to do that too. That's the coolest thing. So I don't know this. I mean, I knew this woman. I had met her actually. She was a woman that I know who lost 150 pounds so she could ride in her daughter's fancy Western show saddle. So this saddle was a gift for her daughter that turned out to be a true gift for herself. She never told anyone. The woman was obese and she made a commitment to herself to lose weight, to buy a horse, to learn to ride, and to put this fancy show saddle on her horse and show in a Western pleasure class. And the story was featured in Western Horseman. She was unreasonable. She did not let the reasons from her past or the reasons that she was obese stop her in the present. She told me the story when I met her. I did a corporate team building with her and her organization, and that's when she told me the story. And I was well impressed. 150 pounds. It took a major mindset shift for her. You see, our minds are set up to give us what we want and do the work to have. So I said she was unreasonable, and that's what I want from you, to be unreasonable. Reasons for things happening often get in the way. Good reasons and bad reasons. Reasons always come from the past. They can affect the present, so we want to see if we want them to affect the future. If I've made a commitment to walk 3 days a week, and there are only 2 days left, and we haven't walked because of the weather, this is an example of being reasonable. In this case, being unreasonable would help us cover some ground on the fitness goals that we want to take place. Having someone counting on us could make a big difference. So we want to put structures in place that help us reach our goals. And that's exactly what I found that in my coaching program, I have done. You know, when you throw your hat over the wall and you say, Marianne, I want you to help me for the next 6 months, this is what happens. I help you as we define your goals and we look at milestones along the way and we achieve them and we celebrate. And when you say to me, oh, I didn't do anything because of the weather, I say, are you being unreasonable? Or are you being reasonable? You know, that kind of thing. It's not like I'm berating you, but my goal is going to be to help you achieve your goals, achieve the things that you say you want. And, you know, I didn't know what I didn't know when I didn't know it. People don't, right? So when I came home from horsemanship school, see, I was away in horsemanship school in Colorado. And what I realized when I was there was that I had so much to do. I was so busy with so many things that I didn't have time to worry about where my horse put her feet. That was a thing that I did. I kind of took on the responsibility of you, this is where you need to put your feet. And it took that responsibility away from my horse. I'm really sorry that I did that, because she then got very worried about where she put her feet. So I realized when I came home that I had all this property that I wasn't using. I had these two little square pristine pastures, and I had all this land I wasn't using. And I wasn't using this land because I have this creek that runs through the center of my property, right? And I was like, well, I can't use that, and you can see these creek banks are very steep and they get very muddy and the water gets very deep and they have to jump to get up the other side. I was like, no way am I going to let my horses do something like that. But when I was out west, I realized that, you know what, horses can do this. I just didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. I mean, I saw Westerns and I saw what horses did then, but I didn't realize that, I was limiting what was possible for my horses. So I built this track system and I fenced in my entire property. So now instead of having 2 acres, they have about 7 acres that they can actually be in. And you can see in this top photo here on the right, where I have, there's a fence. So you can see this white fencing here in the middle. I have the fence, and that's where my stallion lives. And at the time he had a gelding friend who lived with him, and the mares live on the outside of the track. And this track system, and I put see, there's like a brick walkway there. It was very, very wet. So I had all of these old bricks that I slept over there. And I put all these bricks in, and I made I put a lot of different varied terrain, and I brought a lot of millings and stone screenings, and there's places where there are tree branches that I just leave. There's places where there's mud on this track. And the idea is, this comes from the world of, I call it a paddock paradise system because of the book that Jamie Jackson wrote called Paddock Paradise. But it comes from the idea of zoo sciences, where in captivity, we're trying to mirror what an animal might live like in their real environment. If we didn't take them out of their environment, how might they actually be living? And wild horses, if you go out walking, and you'll see this with any animals, any herd animals, like if you're out walking in the woods, you'll come upon a deer path. And sometimes if you ever look on YouTube and you watch those wildlife cams that are set up, it's amazing what actually walks on these deer paths. But horses do this too. I even noticed in my 2-acre field that, my horses had like paths worn into the places where they always walked, so it was a very natural thing. And I feed, the bottom right photo you'll see here, is I feed these horses out of these slow feeders, these small mesh hay nets. So they're little tiny holes, again, to help mirror grazing and to help them to not waste hay and spend more time being more interested. This water crossing here on the left, this actually goes out into the front lawn where there's lush grazing. And I don't always let the horses go out into the front lawn because it's the front lawn, and I don't always want the front lawn looking like a pasture. But when I let them go out there, they're very happy. Do you see that little horse, how she really has to almost swim there? There's quite a little hole there, and it gets quite deep, and then they have to jump out of the other side to really go out. But they all do it. And because of this, they've all taught each other to do this. And because of this, I don't have a horse that's worried about things like crossing water or mud or even bridges for that matter. So they'll all go into water, and it's not an issue. And that's because I set it up on my property in that way. So, we don't know what we don't know, but, and there's still things that I'm not overly happy about with my track system, but for the most part, I love it. So thinking about a thing is not enough to bring it to fruition. Thoughts and actions need to work in concert with one another to bring to life the dream that you got a horse for. You can't keep doing what you're doing and expecting a different result. What's important is that you and your horse decide what's important for you and your horse. And it's not that I don't want you to be like me or be like anyone else. I want you to be the best that you can be. Like this horse owner, she wanted her horse to wait there for her while she went across the hall and got her saddle out and all that stuff. This is an agreement that they worked toward together. If there's a thing that's important to you, it'll become important to your horse. Safely feeding mints to the entire herd, and everyone is welcome. As long as everyone is experiencing, you see how I have that highlighted, safety, mints are high on the list of the most delicious treats, but it wasn't always this way. This herd and all the horses in my practice manage their behavior around food because this is a clear picture in my mind, and I've done the work to get that picture from inside of me out into them. I'm happy to share that information with you and tell you how I did all that and help you do that as well. This isn't even me feeding mints to the horses, but you see all of the horses are there. They're all getting mints. They're all waiting their turn. They're all managing themselves. So we get to this place through principles instead of through rules, right? And so this is how we traverse all of the conflicting information that comes at us, bombarding us, bombarding us, bombarding us all the time. So this is a little video of principles in action. Principles are all about communication. Principles require both parties' contribution, and working with horses through principles is what creates mutual and magnetized relationships between horses and their humans, and their goats, by the way. So you see, this is my mare Summer, and she's come over and she's waiting there while I saddle her. And you see, she could leave, she could do anything she wants, but she's not. She's there because we have an agreement. I'm not making her do it. If she leaves, I will bring her back. I'll put her back, and I'll do that over and over and over again if I need to do that. But I want to be conscious. I want to keep noticing what she's doing. I want to notice if her tail is swishing. I want to notice if she's coming around to talk to me about something. This is the way that I saddle all horses. This is a saddling system. So she's coming over. She's saying, hey, what's going on? See how I keep acknowledging her? I keep noticing when I reach for her cinches and I start to tighten them up. What is she thinking about that? Is that tail swishing at me? Or is that tail swishing because there's a fly? I'm going to keep noticing what my horse is talking about. I'm not going to make her stand there and put up with me. I'm going to elicit her participation. This is just a little cell phone video that I set up on the fence just to make this video for somebody. It was a saddling video that I made for one of my coaching clients. My goat eating everything, because that's what goats do. Cookies. I'm a big fan of using food treats. So now I'm just going to ask her just to move around a little bit, I'm going to try to stay in the camera space. So I'm just going to ask her to move a little bit so I can tighten her cinch. So I don't have to tighten the whole thing up while she's, when I first get it on her. I want her to move a little bit. And I'm just asking her to move in some circles and a little bit of figure 8 kind of idea. I'm just going to keep checking on her and asking her, is she okay? What does she think? Asking her parts to go and asking her parts to come. And you can see that she's willing to do this. I'm going to just keep checking, making sure that that tail is not about me, that it's maybe about flies or whatever it's about. But if it's about me, I want to notice. It doesn't mean nothing. And there, that tail, that swale swish and that little, yep, so I'm checking for a fly. You see that? Is there a fly there? I'm just going to ask her to move around one more time. This is a principle that I live by, that I want to put my cinch on slowly. I want to tighten my cinch in small increments so my horse is comfortable. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you've ever had a horse that has cinching issues, it is no fun. It is a really hard thing to fix because sometimes when the cinching issues are gone, whether it's a physical thing or not, the mental issue is still there. The brace that started in the body has become a brace in the mind. And sometimes a brace in the mind can be much harder to deal with than a brace in the body. So we want to really prevent problems. And so saddling your horse in this way and having, being coordinated and helping them in this way really makes a difference. And so, again, I just made this saddling video for somebody, so I'm just going to go ahead and mount this horse as well. And I want you to take note that I'm mounting from the right side. There's a right side and a left side. There's not a right side and a wrong side. So a pretty tall girl. I'm gonna hold the mane in the front of the saddle and get myself up there. And of course she just waits for me, right? And she's looking around saying, hey, did I do the right thing? One of the reasons my horses wait here for me like this is because I always, 100% of the time, give them a treat when I mount them. I often will give them two. I'll give them one on the left and I'll give them one on the right. And I want my horse waiting there for me. And so you can get on and off the left and the right. So that was just a mounting, that was just a saddling and mounting task that I was sharing. And then I go ahead and I take my cinches off in exactly the opposite order. And in this way, I've just, you know, this is why she's not worried. Now you see that's the first time she's eaten grass. I found that to be interesting because it made me think that there's probably was a little bit of worry about what potentially we were gonna do. So she wasn't eating grass while I was busy putting her saddle on. She was busy paying attention and I like that. And obviously there's some bit of worry left. And depending on who your horse is and how they express things, whether they express things in a quiet, more introverted way or a loud extroverted way. Now see, she's eating and she's kind of moving away and I'm not quite done, right? I'm trying to put my saddle where it belongs. I'm just gonna say to her, hey, you come on back here. We're making a video for somebody and I need you to stay here with me. Don't just walk away because you think we're done, right? Come back. Yeah, come on back here. Come on. There. I don't mind if she eats grass. I just don't want her walking away. There you go. There. And now I'm done. And now she can go and I'm totally fine with that because I've left her be. See how she knows the difference though? Cool. All right, so we're gonna move on from this. Here's more examples of principles instead of rules. I'm always teaching my horse to keep slack in the lead rope. So you know how I don't even know where the rule came with, but you're supposed to bunch up your entire lead rope in one hand and hold the halter. I don't even know why. Always put the chain over the horse's nose so you can have real control. Always walk on the left side of your horse. Yeah, I teach my horses to keep slack in the rope. I teach my horses about personal space so I can be on the left side or the right side of my horse. I don't want to create imbalances in my horses by always doing things from the left side. I want to make sure that I can do things on both sides. And I want to teach my horse to stay where I put him. Like if I say, hey, walk over there, I want you to walk over there. If I want to teach you to ground tie. I'm not going to use my elbow to keep my horse off my feet. I'm going to give them their space. I'm going to give them their long lead rope and let them move over there. I'm going to assume he will instead of he will not. It's not my job to keep my horse going. It's only my job to ask him to go when he's not going. Just like with Summer, when it's not my job to keep her there. It was my job to put her back if she left when I was just doing that saddling task. So I want you to think about things as kind of an umbrella that we live under. We want to reward the horse's try, so our horse will try harder. It's like a bingo cue. When they're on the right track, we want to say, yes, you're on the right track. Good job. We want to expect our horses to be in communication. We want to look for it and listen for it and be willing to respond, just like I did with Summer in that saddling task. We want to be willing to share our ideas, our feelings, and our imagination with our horses. And we want to come from a place of gratitude with our horses. If that's who we are, you'll be surprised what a long way that goes. We want to own our space, because if there's no you, what's going to happen to your horse? Like if you're hurt, like if you allow your horse on top of you all the time and then you get injured, what's going to happen to you? And we want to use the natural laws of attraction by creating the pictures, feelings, energies, and desires that are in our dreams. And let your Grinch heart grow. Observe changes in your horse that demonstrate that they feel your gratitude. So you know how in the Grinch, how the Grinch Stole Christmas, if you've seen that Dr. Seuss show, or in the book, you know, after the Grinch stole all of the packages and bows and the roast beef, you know, from the Who's in Whoville, he went up on the mountain and he was just waiting and waiting and waiting to hear the Who's when they came out in the morning, wailing and crying. But instead they came out and they held hands and they sing. And what we saw was that Grinch's little tiny heart grow 3 sizes that day. And that's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about letting your horse feel your gratitude without having to say a word. I want it to radiate out of all of you. It's like almost, can you see a smile when you're standing behind someone? Like, can you know if their body is smiling? I want your horse to be able to feel that. That's how you be the change you want to see in the world. Gratitude is a prescription for what ails us. If we take a dose every morning, it may cause shifts in perspective. It may cause feelings of abundance and decrease fears and anxieties. Okay, onward to a couple of physical strategies. We're getting to the end. So far, to be more horse-like, what we know is we want to get clear about our internal dialogue and our beliefs about our horses. And we want to let that stuff go. You're good enough and so is your horse. We want to tell the truth. There's no place to hide. The horse already knows, so stop trying to hide. We want to commit to improve, and we want to be unreasonable. We want to create our inner pictures and feelings, and we want to add energy and desire, and we want to use our thoughtful and our creative imaginations. We want to use principles instead of rules. And now we're going to talk about pushing instead of pulling. This is a bird's eye view, by the way. We get into habits and thinking and feeling together with our horses and moving together with our horses. And this is like another one of those places that's an already and always place. Like, it's hidden from our view. We kind of don't even realize what we're doing. I want you to really start looking at, how do we handle one another? Are we always pulling or pushing on one another? Like, sometimes people don't even realize what they're doing. Horses actually don't pull on each other. Horses push. And if we're going to be more horse-like, we need to stop pulling. Well, there is this. When we put these wide, flat halters on horses, they do what we do with them. They start pulling on one another. But when they don't have them, what they do is they push on one another. And here's some examples of horses pushing on one another. This little gray horse is my colt, Sterling, when he was younger. And this is his gelding friend. And that's the girls on the other side of that rope fencing there. Obviously, the first picture here on the left is, the gelding is just trying to, be, and the little gray horse nudge, nudge, nudge. And the gelding said, hey, cut that out on that top right picture. And then back to grazing, right? And no harm was done. Horses push on one another. Here's some more examples. Can you see this person? This is me and my horse Valentine. I don't know why the picture is all fuzzy. But I'm moving toward the horse and the horse is moving away. Do you see all my energy, all my body language is saying, I'm going here. But can you see the slack in the lead rope around that horse's neck? There's no halter. There's just a rope around her neck. It's very loose. She could choose to do whatever she wants. She's choosing to be in communication with me and be light and responsive. I'm pushing with both intended pressure and energetic pressure. I'm not adding any physical touch. It's an intended pressure and an energetic pressure, not a physical pushing or pulling. Turns into physical, obviously, because I'm walking, right? But I'm not making contact with her is what I mean to say. Now, here's another example of pushing. Can you see the focus of the human? The gaze is directly at that trailing hind foot, and the rope just touched it. And look at the horse's right ear. It's completely in communication. You see the slack in the lead rope? There's no pull, just an available place for the horse to move into. This horse is doing a nice job of taking on her responsibility of receiving this soft communication and being responsive without fear or without worry. She's responding appropriately. Once we're good at pushing instead of pulling our horses and being more horse-like, we can be in front and push the energy behind. And this is a whole study in spatial awareness. We get real deep into understanding what I call the geometry of moving with horses. They're very geometrical. We learn the lessons of the drive line. But one day you'll be able to be in front of your horse and actually arc energy behind your horse and say, hey, come on, or wherever we want to direct our energy to. Once you learn the geometry of moving with horses, you'll be able to move the horses with or without ropes. Taking the time it takes to teach our horses makes everything take less time. Are you pressed for time? Because who's not? I used to spend time doing things repeatedly that didn't work. Now, if I see that a thing is not working, I take the time to teach what I want and I use principles to do it. I don't wait. I take the time right now to fix it. And I don't want to. I don't have the time to fix this right now, but I know that it's just going to perpetuate unless I take the time to do this today. And I will do it every day because I am relentless. You know, I have a neon sign that says, I am fair, I am friendly, and I am relentless. And those horses know it. You know, I'm going to be friendly 100% of the time, but I won't give up. And then we need to see what is our actual horse's point of view. How do things look from their perspective? Horses are built to be sensitive. Many horses have huge nostrils and noses that are 18 inches long. Eyes set on both sides of their head, giving them near 360-degree vision, and ears that telescope in almost all directions. Horses are set up to take notice. Being quadrupeds, having 4 feet on the ground and being so big, horses have these long bodies that are covered and woven together with sensitive fascia. Horses notice. We have a whole week, we really dive into fascia and how important what's under our skin, what holds us together, how important that is in the health of ourselves and our bodies and our horses and their bodies, and how much that affects us and how sensitive it is, and how we can use that to help be in more refined communication with our horses. Horses are equipped to see, hear, and smell far better than us humans. We want to listen to what they have to say instead of making the assumption that they're just being oppositional. After Hurricane Sandy here in New Jersey back in 2012, a lot of roads and bridges washed out. I was out riding. I was actually on Summer, the red horse, and I was with some friends, and all of a sudden the horses wouldn't go any farther. And so I got off and I walked ahead of my horse. I encouraged my horse to go. They weren't going. None of them were going. It didn't seem like anything was wrong. We could see, you know, as far as we could see, but we couldn't see around the bend up ahead. So I get out there and I walk in front of my horse and she's following me, and around the bend, what I saw was the road was completely washed out. And I think it's those 4 feet on the ground that had them know that there was danger ahead. Maybe they felt water rushing in a way that maybe it wasn't supposed to. I don't know. I know that when horses, you know, we don't live with our feet on the ground. Like even in my house, like I have a basement, so I'm at least 6 feet off the ground. Most of us, like we're in our car, our feet are not on the ground. Even when our feet are on the ground, they're not barefoot. They're in all different kinds of shoes and boots. You know, so how connected are we really to the earth? Horses know things that we don't know. And especially if they live outside in all seasons. Like I was out there one night in this field with Sterling, and I have lights that I use sometimes at night. And out of the shadows into the light comes a fox. And I was like, oh, there's a fox. And Sterling was just like, hey, how you doing? Like, we don't even know what goes on in our horses' worlds. They are set up to notice. And we don't want to just take the opposition and say, oh, they just don't want to. We need to see things from a different perspective. Every horse deserves to be treated with dignity. Every horse deserves the opportunity to learn to get along in our world, because it is our world. Every horse is absolutely in communication. Every horse learns who will listen and who will not. Horse whisperers are really horse listeners. Horse listeners are people who pay attention, have patience, and are persistent. Our scattered thoughts and our uncontrolled mental pictures become like white noise to our horses if we don't manage them. This has to happen so the horses can live through the experience of us. Horses who live near shooting ranges, highways, airports, railroads, don't even notice the noises after a while. It just fades into white noise. And that's who we become for our horses if we don't manage ourselves. Taking the time to observe, wait with an attitude of patience, allow the horses to show us what they need, is how to become someone who listens to horses. Horses are magnetized to people who hear and clearly act on the horse's communicated wants and needs. True communication is a two-way street of sharing and understanding. Okay, I'm going to show you a little video. Are you raring to go? I want you to watch for the persistence in this next little video. It's just a 1-minute video. So this is me, and this is my horse Sterling. This is obviously not winter, but probably fall. And this is his food. And I picked up that stick and I said, hey, don't put your face in this bowl. You back up. I drop the stick and back he goes. Ah, see that big weight? You wait there. Ah, you wait, go back. Good. Good boy. Good. Wait. Good. Wait. Ah, no, go back. Don't just turn your head. Move yourself. Good. Now wait. Oh. And then confidently watch the weight in my hand. It's saying, you wait right there. I'm holding that space saying, you wait. I'm walking past him with every confidence that he's just going to wait there. And I got as far as I could and still stayed in the camera. And then I say, come. And he leaps into action and comes running to me. But then he kind of runs right through me like, hey, you need to stop. Go back and wait. Now be soft. Good. Good. There you go. You see my commitment to being relentless, my commitment to the patience that it takes to say, hey, you go back, you go back, you go back. I'm just going to show you that one more time, just so you can see it a little bit on your own this time. This little video is supposed to have a little music that goes with it, but I don't know why it doesn't have music. It's a miracle that we can do this at all. I love this because this is how I communicate with clients all over the world. We just share a video like this and we dissect it just like this. And we say, hey, you need to go back right back there. You need to stop him again. This is exactly how video coaching works. So whether it's a video of me that I'm sharing a concept with, or if it's a video of you and we're troubleshooting, it's so helpful to be able to sit here in the comfort of my own home and look at this video and not be in the thick of it with my horse. Because I can think about it. I can say, oh, I should have fixed it there. You know how it is when you go to the horse show, right? It's easy to say, oh, I can see where they messed up back there, right? And it's like that. We can look at ourselves like that with an eye to go back and say, oh, I could do better right here. Here's the little spot where we could do better. And not with a critical eye, with an eye of love, with an eye of a willingness to learn and improve and be coached. Cool. All right, so remember those big concerns, right, that we want to be able to address. And I want to just ask, did we cover them? The fear that we address, like that mindset, where does that fear come from? Where does it live? And what to do about it? Like we want to overseed it with the things that we want. Fitness, like how to have a commitment to the things that we really want. How to really, elicit the help of a friend. Have someone holding us to account. Hire a coach. Elicit the help of a friend. And that conflicting information, if we live under that big umbrella of principles, then we can think our way through. If we can observe and see what's really happening, not what we think is happening or what we feel is happening, but what we see is happening, that's going to help. That's going to take so much of that information down. It's just really going to be huge. And I want to just go ahead and share my coaching program with you now. This is just going to take a few more minutes, and then I'm going to be sure to answer any questions that happen to have gotten to the chat. So I'm a personal online one-on-one coach, and it happens anywhere in the world. And I'm happy to say it actually works. I'm coming on my 2nd year anniversary doing this work online, and I'm super, super thrilled and excited about it. So if you don't want to waste another day missing out on a truly magnetized horse-human relationship, you're in the right place. This program is for you. If you know what you're doing right now is not working, it's not getting you what you really want, or if it's not working in a way that you want, it's not working as well as you'd like it to work, then you might consider hiring me as your one-on-one personal coach. If you're done buying gadgets and paying monthly fees and the piecemeal approach to general horse training that only makes the slightest bit of difference in lieu of actually taking serious ground on the relationship that you want with your horse. If you're tired of a round pen or having to lunge your horse for a half hour before you can get on him because all you're doing is exercising his body and not his mind, and all he's doing is becoming fitter in his body and less fit in his mind, I want to tell you about my program. So what happens is each week you're going to get a written lesson and it gets emailed to you. So you'll have that coming no matter what. I have a pre-designed set of emails that go out to everyone. And in addition to that, whatever your particular issue is something that we work on together alongside that pre-designed program. Each week we talk either on the phone or we meet like this, face-to-face on Zoom, and we process that lesson. And I custom make videos for you, like that one I did for the saddling video that I made for somebody who needed help with saddling and understanding the mounting process. And the whole goal is that we move forward to whatever goal it is that you have. But I want you to know that it's just like this drip. The information gets dripped to you. It doesn't get shoveled to you. And it's information that pertains to you and your horse. It's not a broad overview of everything anybody ever needed to know. It's information that you and your horse can use every single week. So if you have the passion to have the dream horse relationship with your horse that's in your mind, you're in the right place. If you have the desire to be the change that you'd like to see in your horse, where communication is a two-way street, and that's what keeps everyone safe when it's the relationship that you ride, you're in the right place for the peace and the joy that you'll experience when you see yourself and your horse make changes together that shape your dream relationship. So congratulations for being here and actually taking some ground on that. I want to share a few little results with you. This is just Karen, and what I love about what she said was that we had a great time learning not only horsemanship, but humanship. Like, we learn about ourselves, right? Because everywhere you go, there you are, even when you're with your horse or with your family, and we start to see those congruencies. And Karen said that she knows that her horse really got something out of seeing her become a better leader and partner for her horse, and she knows that it's a lifelong journey. And thank you for working in honesty as friends and a teacher with us. And this is Doreen and her horse, Deja Vu. This is not the horse she came into my coaching program for. He was an American show horse that I can show you here. This was a picture of them in a horse show. He lived this life for the 5 years she owned him. He lived inside of a barn. He never went outside unless he was being ridden, because he was a show horse. He lived in a stall. He was very spooky. His body was very sore. And just 3 months into our program, this was Maz. She moved him out of that show barn. They said he could never go outside. He's not like other horses. You know, he'll hurt himself. He's crazy. His back no longer hurts. He's no longer spooky. He lives outside. She's riding him here in this long and low posture with a rope halter. This is just 3 months after this picture. Okay, so shifts happen quickly when you do the work. And it just gets better and better and better. And he gets to live outside in a pasture. Didn't happen all at once. Took a little bit of time to acclimate him to moving outside and coming back in. He's learned about bugs and mud and wind and trees and friends and herd dynamics. And Doreen plays with her horses both together in that pasture at Liberty, and she rides them both. And this is Deja Vu. This is the horse she actually came into the program for. Again, she was a spooky horse, couldn't canter her. She got very, very emotional horse. And now she's out riding her in hunter paces and jumping things and galloping across country. And she's an example of somebody who did some really lovely work. This is Mary and Dandy. This picture was just taken this past weekend. We had a Liberty workshop here at my farm, and I couldn't be more proud of these people. They are people who came into my advanced horsemanship program. They came through my For the Love of Horses coaching program and said, I want more. And they put themselves right in the advanced horsemanship program. And these are not the same people that I met. I could give you a million things that are different about these two, but their future is so bright. And I'm so, so excited and thrilled about them. This is a married couple who came into my program. They 3 years ago fulfilled the dream of horse ownership, and then of course the nightmare began right after right after the dream was fulfilled. So earlier this year, this is actually last year, they bought their own farm, and right in the fall of the year through the winter, they really invested in their horse education. And I really applaud them because, I don't know what makes people think that they should have horses and think that they're just going to figure it out. I really want to encourage you to plan on spending far more money on your education than you do on your horse to purchase them and on your horse care. Because if you don't get educated, that's when horses don't get forever homes, when their people lose their fun and desire, and then their funds, their money, because they're afraid of all those things we talked about. Just 4 weeks into our coaching relationship, Holly was really excited that she learned about what we talk about is an opportunity to work on something called thresholds, meaning places where our horses get worried when we take them away. And this was her two horses, but this is also Candace and Ollie, and they had a very similar experience where once their people stopped pushing these horses through these thresholds, they stopped doing airs above the ground and running back and being really strong and being very fearful. When the people started to get connected with their horses and be on the same page and not push their horses through places that were scary for them, but actually be with them and help them. And there's a system and a method for that. And we teach that and we learn that. And she just fulfilled her lovely goal this year, being able to actually ride around her farm on her horse. She couldn't even go past the horses. She couldn't even get him from the stall to the paddock without him losing his mind. And now she's riding her horse around the farm. It's really super exciting stuff that happens. This is Dana. I'm gonna let her talk.
Hi, my
name's
name's Dana, and this is Georgie. He is a cute little pony boy that I've had the opportunity to work with for about 1.5 years now. And throughout this time with him and throughout my sessions with Marianne, I've learned so much. She's taught me how to develop a connection with him on the ground that then carries over when I'm on him through groundwork. And I didn't realize before how fundamental groundwork is. And she's taught me several exercises that I use all the time. I use every time I'm out here before I get on him, just to get us connected and to get him paying attention and thinking, and to get me paying attention and thinking as well, because sometimes I come out here and your head's all over the place, but then you start getting into these exercises on the ground and you're able to focus. It gets you focused. It gets you and the horse focused together. So I just want to say thank you for all that you've taught me so far. And I know I still have so much to learn, but just even what I've picked up from you so far has made such a difference in my journey with Georgie. He can be kind of a blockhead sometimes, and these exercises make him less of a blockhead.
Isn't that the truth though, right? We all have more to learn. It's a never-ending journey of learning with these horses. So this is a one-on-one personal horsemanship coaching program, and really what I want you to do is be the peacock. Be really proud of who you and your horse are together, and be a shining example for others of how, when a relationship works, that's encouraging to others. And if you're unwilling to set limits on living your dream every single day, like if it's not someday, one day, what I know is tomorrow's not a promise for anyone. Now is the time. So much happens in 6 months. I mean, really what I've experienced in 6 months with some of my coaching clients is that people, horses get sick and horses die and people get new horses, and parents get sick and parents die, and people are, people start new businesses and end businesses, and people move, and people decide they want to buy farms, and people, want to recreate everything they've got. And I mean, so much happens in 6 months, none of which is actually planned for. So there's never, like when I say now is the time, it's because now is the time. There's never a perfect time in the future. You know, like if you say, yeah, after my daughter gets married, that time's never going to come because a million other things are going to get in the way. That's what happens. So I want to encourage you. If you're unwilling to set limits on living your dream with your horse, this horse you have right now, tomorrow's not a promise for anyone. So even if you've never worked with a one-on-one coach, that's okay. And even if you're brand new to horses, that's okay. That'd be great, actually. But even if you've had horses all your life and then that one comes along that changes everything for you, I've had lots of those clients as well. So even if you don't own your horse, maybe you lease a horse. I have a woman who has a long-term lease, and she came into the program, and she's adding so much to that horse for his life. You know, like when you can make these changes for you and your horse and so much changes for everybody. This 6 months program is designed to meet your goals, and I'm there with you every single step along the journey with you and your horse to support your dreams and your challenges and your strongly held beliefs, whatever they are. These are some of the key lessons. We talk about true communication, that two-way street. It's called the conversation, okay? And we learn how to have the conversation. We learn to be really good, keen observers. We understand about sharing and shaping space and what's called consensual leadership, shared leadership. We end up having a horse that's as light as a 1-2. And you kind of saw that in Sterling, and you saw that in Summer in some of the videos that I shared with you. We learned to use the principles of improvisation. And that is so fun because that creates fun and interaction with our horses. And we change our horses no to yes. We learn about liberty in large spaces. And we learn about using principles from our groundwork right into riding. And we learn about harmony and creativity. We learn about physical posture. I just had to sneeze, and I didn't, so my eyes are watering. And we get results with grace. And you'll be in good company because you'll be joining our small and private Facebook group. If you're on Facebook, not everybody is. I have lots of clients actually who are not in our Facebook group. And what will you have in 6 months is you'll have a horse who asks you questions. You will fully recognize this and you will have the answers. You'll have a magnetized horse-human relationship that's safe, confident, and having fun. Choosing to work with me in a one-on-one coaching program to realize your dream is a gift worth giving yourself today. For the Love of Horses is a one-of-a-kind trademarked coaching relationship, and I'm only one person. I'm the only one who's doing this. You're not going to become part of a great big organization. I believe in giving myself fully, so there's only a few of these coaching spots that actually even are available. And I want you to know that I know what it means to take big risks and live your dream horse life. For 18 years, while I was working my way through my horsemanship program at home in a home study program, I was raising my children, I was working in construction. But it was when I was in that personal development program that I chose to change my life and go away to horsemanship school. So I know what it means to dive in and take big risks and follow your dreams. And that's why I know I can help you do the same thing. So when I came home from horsemanship school back in the end of 2005, I began a 12-year journey, actually a 13-year journey now, in observation and self-discovery in my own arena with my loose horses in the company of horses. More than 15,000 people now, more than that, have come through my arena, and they've learned about their own patterns of behavior through my equine assisted learning company. And that's what makes us better horse people, is when we can learn through the horses. And that's how I know that I've learned. I've learned so much about myself through the horses. And now I live the dream that I want to live. And I know I can help you do it too. This is a full private 6 months coaching program with many benefits. And what I love about this photo is that my living quarters horse trailer is in there. And one of the things I love to do is travel with my horses. And if that's something you love to do, go camping and travel, hit me up because I'd love to go with you. I'd love to meet you somewhere. There's bonuses that are included, and no, it's not a pony. That's my pony that I finally got after all my years. So what you already get is that dripped lesson to you, and then we meet either on the phone or on Zoom every single week of our coaching program. And if you are taking fast action, you actually get an extra phone call or an extra video session every single week of your whole program for 6 months. And if you live close to me, or within a day or so, we can exchange some of those calls for in-person visits. You'll always have the option to have me come to your place, or you can come to my place. That's all good for me. There's also a dollars off fast action cash bonus, and that's for anyone who purchases a coaching program on our first conversation. And there's also a referral bonus that I'll give to you if you actually refer someone, if you introduce them to me and they decide to be one of my coaching programs. If it's a fit for us, how we'll know is we actually talk on a discovery call. Then there'll be a cash bonus in it for you as well. So it's a nice way. It's kind of a little affiliate program that I have. And so here's what I know. I didn't take that picture of that other eagle, but I took this photo. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I'm going to ask, are you ready to live your dream horse life with your horse? And if you are, here's how you get a hold of me. So this is where you book that free discovery call. It's maryannbrewer.as.me. as.me. That's acuityscheduling.me. So that's where you'll find me. So I'm going to leave this here for you for a second. maryannbrewer.as.me. Actually, I'll put that in the chat so you can see that. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to jump in the chat and see if I can answer any questions that might be in there. I know I've been here for a little bit of time with you guys. And let's see, now's the time to raise your hand if you have any questions that you would like answered today, anything that you've brought. I'm going to look in the chat. Doesn't look like anything's happening. I'm going to put that in here. maryannbrewer.as.me flash. So yeah, that's how you get a hold of me if you want to book that free discovery call. Move that out of the way. Sometimes it takes a little while for your questions to show up, so feel free to Q&A. I'm going to look in the Q&A and see if there's anything here. Doesn't look like I have any open questions. Anybody have any questions that they want answered? I see you're all still here. I'm just going to go by and say hi. Hi, Chris and Christy. Oh, there's a question from Shelly. Let me see. Oh, was your horsemanship class through Pirelli? I am following them and have been a member. I did go to horsemanship school. I went to Pirelli Natural Horsemanship. That's where I went. I started studying that program when I got my baby horse patches. And I started studying that home study program from 1996, and then I completed it in 2005. And in 2005, so that was, it was 13 years ago, that's when I completed the foundation program. I graduated there and I left. And that's when I started doing what Pat said to do. Back then, the program is very different now. Shelley, before there were 3 levels. It was level 1, 2, 3, and it was a foundation program, and then you complete it and you go off on your own, and that's that. And now it's kind of what you do. There's not really a whole, I don't really actually know. I left the program in 2005, and I'm grateful for my education there. And I'm grateful for what I've learned since that. And I can tell you that I went to probably hundreds of clinics in the years before I actually went away to horsemanship school. And while there was value in all of that, even within all of the different clinicians within one organization, I got so much conflicting information. I found myself being confused a lot. And so that's why my commitment was, when I went away to horsemanship school, and it was a dream fulfilled, and it was a fabulous, fabulous experience, that we were going to go and then learn from the horses. And that's what Pat said. He said, once you have your foundation training, go out and learn from the horses, go out and do something with it. And so I've been helping people ever since then, and it's been a great experience. Roger, how do you handle a totally new Two horses husband. Oh, does he have his own horse husband? Are you the horse husband? It's really common. I have to tell you that if you saw in the video, there was a husband and wife couple that that I brought through the program together, and that was one of the primary reasons, because there was a lot of difficulty between husband and wife trying to get things done with the horses, because the wife was always worried that the husband was going to get hurt or was going to mess up the horses, or don't touch my horse because my horse, don't mess up my horse. And that did happen. But sometimes having a third party, the husband was able to learn differently. And then in all honesty, there is such value in how they say ignorance is bliss, right? Like, there's such value in not knowing. There's such value in not bringing all your baggage to the horses, that there's like out of the mouths of babes. It's like that, Roger. You're like a babe in the horse world, and it's a good thing. And as long as you get some core education, I'd love to have the both of you, or just one of you, come and let me be your coach for the next 6 months. And really what you'll learn is how to be safe and have fun with your horse, how to be in communication. And one of the things that I also do is I consult with people for those track systems. So really helping people traverse, like, what do I need as a new horse owner? Do I really need all of this stuff? Like, I am a minimalist. Let me just say that I am not about gadgets and gimmicks, and I want the horses to live as naturally as possible, which is why they live outside all the time. I am a real minimalist, and you can just hit me up, Roger. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and I'd be happy for you and your wife to come and join us. Hi, Chris. I think I got on very late. How long has the webinar been in session? We started 9 o'clock promptly, and it's 11:15. Holy mackerel. Thank you so much, Ivansa. I am glad that you were here. It was my pleasure to be there. Good, Shelley. Any more questions? Let me see if I've got anything else happening. Oh, I don't see any more questions. No specific questions from anybody? Any questions about anything I can help with? All right, well, I want to invite you guys. I did drop in the chat the acuity scheduling link, mariannebrewer.as.me. You can always look at mariannebrewer.com if you want to see any more information. I'm here in New Jersey in the United States of America. And like I said, I do coach people all over the world. And it works just like this. Only what will happen is we'll like share the screen. Like, if you saw my little picture in the corner, your picture will be there too. And then these videos that we share will be either videos that you upload, and it's super simple. I promise you, I've got people from all over who've been able to traverse this technical world. And I'm not a young person. If I can do this, you can do this. I promise you. It's one of the things that we learn to do in the program. So, and it's a super effective way to learn. It's actually been one of my primary tools that I've really learned in the last couple of years. That's been such a majorly effective way to learn, is being able to learn on video. Like I said, when you're removed from the problem, you can sit back and you can watch it and you can say, oh, I see what happened there. I see what happened here. Here's what I can do. And when you have like one congruent coach and one congruent person that's really coaching you and helping you, you can come to a place where you have a place to think from. And this is, like I said, not a great big giant coaching program. It's just me and you and your horse. Or like I said, I have coached couples, and I've actually coached a mother-daughter as well. And so that can be really helpful too. And we end up all on the same calls at the same time. And in 6 months, that happens. All right, so you're welcome. Thank you so much, Preferred. You're very welcome. It's been my pleasure. Chris, thank you. You will be able to watch it again. Very good. I'm not sure where you are, Chris, but yeah, I guess the time I thought at some point I sent a time converter, but sometimes I have trouble with those things too. Give me a couple of days and I'll get this thing converted and uploaded and send it out to any attendees who maybe weren't able to participate today. And if you have any questions, go to mariannebrewer.com. There, I'll be happy to answer all the questions you have. You can look us up on Facebook because we're always there, and I can answer questions for you there too. And I'd love to participate with you. I'd love to have you at least book a discovery call. It's free. We can talk for an hour about anything that you like. And if it's right for me and it's right for you, then we'll talk about the terms of a coaching relationship. What's that going to look like? Where in the world are you? What kind of currency to use? That kind of thing. And we'll move forward. So here it's just almost the beginning of July, or the end of July. It's almost the very beginning of August. So 6 months from now, I want you to imagine how much different your life with your horse could be if you actually had a one-on-one coach helping you every single step of the way, holding you to account for the things you say you want, and being your biggest cheerleader, your biggest supporter, and really seeing how I can help. I would love to. It's been my pleasure. I'm going to go now, everybody, since there's no more questions. Book your discovery call. I'll talk to you then. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.